Why, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful, warm, sunny night here in Pennsylvania. It's beautiful outside. It's a bit hot, but beautiful. Tonight, I want to talk about Saturn in Gemini. A very interesting dynamic when you have Saturn in Gemini. I think, you can basically find your average Gemini thinking faster than everybody else, and their mind just never stops. It's like it's like an ant's nest of thoughts going on. I should have said a bee's nest. Sorry. And they're very quick. They're fast, like intellectually clever. All them things like that. But what happens when you put Saturn there? Well, Saturn puts the fear into it, and so it becomes a fear of being like that. So Saturn in Gemini or Saturn in the third house becomes a fear of being stupid or looking stupid. These people are haunted by this situation where they're constantly trying to prevent themselves from looking stupid in any way. And they're not stupid at all, but they feel like them, they think like they are internally. And so it tends to manifest as things like speech defects, oftentimes with the communication, which is the average Gemini thing. There's speech defects, there's acute shyness is a big one with Saturn in Gemini, where the people are so shy that, they can't get the Gemini out. The Geminis are like bees carrying information to everyone. They pollinate the world with their information. Clumsiness is another one where they constantly prove to themselves they're stupid by knocking things over or doing things, or making like mistakes or spelling errors and things like that, which to everyone else doesn't really matter. It's like, well, how do you spell that? But to the Saturn in Gemini person, it means so much. Knowledge is power with Saturn in Gemini, so they have to know, they have to know. And so they start to define their entire identity on being stupid and not knowing anything. People have different skills. It's not just your intellect. And her entire life was gobbled up with the fact that the French wouldn't know whether or not she wasn't French because she was so good at French. Like that type of thing where you attach your value to it. And now it becomes like if they find out I'm not French, then there's something wrong with me. Or if I knock something over them, if I have to ask a question, I'm stupid. It's like judging a fish because they can't climb a tree. They start to talk and then they become aware of themselves in their own head, and so they clam up. And it's an amazing dynamic to watch people with Saturn in Gemini because they are incredibly clever. They're incredibly smart, but because they can't not be. And so once they begin to understand that it's not attached to their value, that they don't have that everybody asks questions. They think everybody knows everything. They presume everybody must know that. No, we don't. We don't know that. Questions. More questions. You presume that we know that. And so they run around thinking they presume everybody knows everything about everything, and they're the only ones that don't know. And so they won't ask questions. And that's the antidote to Saturn in Gemini. They got to ask questions. The more questions they ask, the more that beast gets off their back. All great breakthroughs start with the words, I don't know. And then when they realize that, so you just ask questions, you don't have to know. You don't have to be clever all the time. You don't have to be the one that knows the answers to everything and so on. All of the people born June 18th, 1971, all the way up until July the 14th, 1972, all of you have Saturn in Gemini. Then at that point, the beast turns into the handsome prince, and you become, and the person becomes liberated, becomes set free, and they don't have to value themselves on that anymore. And they can become, because they usually are incredibly, ridiculously clever. And everyone from February the 21st, 1972, all the way to August the 1st, 1973, you also have Saturn in Gemini. And they can become a great resource, not only for themselves, but for other people. And to learn the value, not to judge yourself on what you know, what you've read, or from August the 9th, 2000, all the way through to October the 15th, 2000. You also have Saturn in Gemini. Just because you're the smartest guy on the planet and you've read this or you've read that, and all the people born between April the 20th, 2001, all the way through to June the 3rd, 2003, you also have Saturn in Gemini. Haven't read, or not to judge people on how stupid they are. These are all lessons that involve with Saturn in Gemini. And all those people born June the 3rd, 2003, all the way through to July the 16th, 2005, you also have Saturn in Gemini. So go check out my website and press the subscribe button as well. Don't forget to press the subscribe button, please. And given the time of day you were born, any of you could have Saturn in the third house, which is the same as Saturn in Gemini. And go and check out Saturn. Go and check out my website, francisdunreastro.com. That's francisdunreastro.com. So if you resonate with this description that I'm talking about, go and check out my website, francisdunreastro.com. Free yourself. There's a lot of stuff on there that you can take advantage of. And I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Francis Dunry Astrology. Thank you very much. Don't forget, press the subscribe button. All right, guys, thank you. See you in a minute.